Good evening and welcome to another Monday Night Live here at Precision Golf in West Byfleet, Surrey, the UK, for all of those of you tuning in from around the globe. Every night, every Monday, here, 6 o'clock, do tune in. Simon, what's been happening in the world of golf this weekend?
Stupidly low scores by the looks of it. Ladies Tour in Riyadh, Alison Lee had 29 under for 3 rounds, which I had to reread because I thought it was 4 rounds. 261s. If you made the cut and 2 under, you're 20 shots back. How do you feel about that on the final day?
Stunning golf.
Incredible golf, incredible. And then, and I never get this guy's name right, Sami Valimaki, thank you very much. Playoff in Qatar with Jorge Campillo. So nail-biting finish, first extra hole. So otherwise, there's been a little bit of a time off. US Tour wasn't on this weekend. They were out in Japan previously, and then this week in Mexico. And then European to have a week off this week, and then they're in South Africa next week. So slightly kind of funky time of year, but lots of exciting golf.
If you're tuning in for the first time, we have iPad in hand for all of your questions. Simon and I are going to get involved with hitting some shots, testing some equipment. So do let us know any questions that you might have for the mind on everything equipment and anything on golf coaching. I can certainly help you out there. Now, Doha, Qatar, I have very, very bad memories of that. It is the location of where I found the yips with my pitching. It's nice.
No, that's a wonderful memory to have.
It is. I was down on the range practicing, just thinking about the right turf, and they used to do a Monday qualifier there for the Qatar Masters. So I went out there for 2 weeks before, went around on the Monday qualifying. It was going well, 3 holes to play. I was doing well. I felt I was in, and I laid the sod over a wedge shot. I moved it literally 6 feet, and it was like the undoing of me. And I think once you've played a shot like that, nasty stuff. But fortunately found a way out of it, and I'm all good now. But
is that the course with the Black and Great Rock in the 16th fairway?
Yes, that's right. That's right. It can either play whipping downwind or whipping into the wind. I mean, it's a very different golf course now to the one that I remember and played it with. But great golf course. Had some great winners over the years. Had Andrew Coltart there. Jimenez won it. Poulter's won it. Tony Johnson, He's had some really good winners to Doha.
Great memories.
Yeah. Oh, great times. Well, we've had a question come in already by Garrett McKelvey. Good evening, Garrett. That's not a name that I'm familiar with.
No.
So thank you very much for popping in a question for us. Playing C-Taper 130 and have played DG X7 in the past.
Strong boy.
Club can feel as if it gets stuck behind me at times and makes me think I need to drop some weight.
It's kind of a relief that you say that.
Expert opinion on where to start, please.
Well, if you played that, I mean, the X7 is the heaviest shaft out there at 137 grams. Most steels between 85 and 130, and then the C-Taper 130s are 130, but they're tip heavy as well. So if both of them feel hard work, which isn't a surprise, it makes me hurt just thinking about it, then start off with, if there's somewhere you can go and test them, or at least a few, start off dropping 5 or 6 grams. It doesn't need to be a huge amount to make a big difference to how you can deliver the club. So at sort of 125, you'd be looking at something like a Modus 130, although that balance is a little higher up. Or actually something like a Project X. If you want the tighter, firmer feel, the Project X would work in a sort of 60, 65. They're 122 to 125 grams. So they're going to give you some feel of stability, but they're going to feel easier to swing than those 2 pokers that you just mentioned. So.
Garrett, let us know where you're tuning in from, because it's always great to hear from our viewers. Simon, saw your recent show, RE Golf Balls.
Yeah.
That was the one with the thumbnail.
That'll be the AVX Pro V1, Pro V1 X left dash. Yeah.
How many golf balls have Titleist got now in the ballpark?
I mean, they've got those 4 of the kind of Vertigrons premium ones, and then they've got another 4 or 5. So certainly it's pushing 10 balls if you go right into the distance balls as well. So yeah.
Strong lineup. What are we going to test tonight?
Well, I thought we'd do a little bit between comparison between a T150 and the latest Apex Pro callaway, which has always been a strong head for them, but this one's a little bit different. So put it against a T150 that most players are familiar with. And then we have a rather interesting creature we both thought we'd have a little bit of a chat about, is a Morgulf, which if you're not familiar with, this is a modular club. So, you know, the screw in the bottom of the shaft, that's meant to be there. They're very, very different construction of head. I mean, properly engineered clubs, but we'll hit a few shots and talk about why they're like they are, and you know, and why you won't see them very many places as well.
Very, very much down the Ping school of thought. And Ping were back in the day always about engineering over looks, right?
Yeah, function over form for sure. Yeah, and it's done very specifically to be like this, but for very, very good kind of physics reasons. It's very much the engineering approach. So yeah,
we covered the wedges a little while ago with the interchangeable sole plates.
Yeah,
is that the case with this?
Yeah, I mean, within reason, it's all interchangeable. They have less sort of flanges than they do in the wedges because of the lesser requirement for the versatility. But yeah, they've got a couple of different widths of flange, and that gives different bounces and different turf interactions.
Brilliant, brilliant. Could go many places with that, but I won't.
No, because Stuart's not childish, is
Someone said last week, actually, that Stuart was on form, and someone replied. So when you guys and girls message in, and there's 3 or 4 of us that have got access to the Precision Golf page, and of course I can't really answer on any of the tech stuff, but I saw it came up, Stuart was on good form this week, and someone I sort of wrote back from Precision Golf, don't encourage him.
Oh, no, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you.
That
was
wasn't
that
me.
James?
That would be James, which I sincerely hope he's watching from holiday, rather than watching the Hoover go round, which is what he tends to do.
Exactly. So David says, James has commented.
Oh, is he? Oh,
he has commented.
Good.
So
good evening, James.
James has commented.
How's the Hoover?
How cold is it in the UK at the moment? Yeah.
It's
nice.
mild.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a couple of days.
Hope you get a bad strain of lettuce. Upsets your stomach. Anyway, so David Sayers goes on to ask, is there a difference with left dash and standard Pro V1 X's? And do you know my swing speed?
Yes, so the left dash is designed primarily for kind of top-end club speed. So
what's top end?
I'm not going to suggest that David isn't top-end club head speed, but he's a strong player. But really it's for highest spinners, highest ball speed players. So you're really looking at club speeds with a driver 105 plus is really where it's aimed at. But the Pro V1 X, both Pro V1 X's are mid to upper mid launch, but the left dash is the lowest spin of them all. So it's very much high launch, low spin for bombers.
Got it. Not one for me then. Anyway.
Not your spin, right?
No. Tom Ashmore. Good evening, Tom. Nice to have you back. Evening, guys. Have you hit the new PXG? Do you know what? I was looking at PXG earlier, so we'll maybe grab this 0317T irons yet.
Yes, we have. Yeah, we got them in the demos. That's been a head that I think they've been lacking this year. There was a big gap between the ST-CB, which is a sort of a single piece forged for traditional sort of cavity back forging, and then the P, which is the faster face, stronger lofted, more kind of distance orientation. So they have now filled that gap. It's been around about a month or so. Been a solid head, good all-round head.
Oh, well, we'll grab that,
We
Tom,
can compare that with the Apex Pro
perfect.
and the T150.
Matty, the alt golfer, is on the drums tonight as James has deserted us and is off drinking champagne and cocktails in the sunshine of Mauritius.
Putting lots of after sun on, I reckon.
Yes.
Matty's not stressed at all, is he?
No, not at all.
He looks quite relaxed.
He's doing great. He's doing great.
Terrified.
Ms. Ali Nerd, good evening. Hi, I'm an 18 handicap female. Great to have a female on the show. Thank you for joining us. I use 6-iron through pitching wedge, 48, 54 and 60. I have a driver, 12 degrees, and a 7-wood, 21 degrees. I'm unsure what combo of woods and hybrids should be between driver and irons. Any advice is appreciated.
Right on cue. I think well, the one mistake that actually a lot of players make is playing too little loft. So if you're going to a 7-wood as the first one, the most important thing is getting good carry distance. So that's where most players go wrong, is they automatically think, right, must play a 3-wood, but actually will carry a 5-wood further. So the fact that you're going to a 7-wood is a good thing. I mean, it varies player to player, but if you're at a 7-wood at, say, 21 degrees, 6-iron's going to be around 26. There's certainly room for a hybrid around the 24-degree mark in there. And then just dependent on where your carry distances are and your kind of club speeds and flight data, there might be room for a 5-wood above the 7-wood, but they're highly likely that a 7-wood hybrid 6-iron, dependent on your flight profile, that's certainly a good place to start.
Let's get in. We'll keep on answering your questions as they keep on coming through. We've got more coming in, and if you want us to hit any club, any shaft that's on, we will have it. We'll gladly shaft it up, get it on the mat, and we'll give you our thoughts on it. So we've got the 6-iron of the...
Start with the T150 just
T150.
As a reference mark. So this is one that, very, very popular this year, been really successful. And then we'll get a couple of shots, we'll both hit a couple, and then get a comparison with the Apex Pro, which is one that's very recently launched.
So this is targeted at what sort of delivery profile, rather than we're working away from handicaps. I think that's something that people we've touched on it a few times now, working away from I'm not a good enough player, nothing to do with that. What sort of speed do you deliver, what sort of delivery impact you've got conditions wise? So what is this primarily, do you think, going to be focused more towards?
Both around a bit of performance, a little bit of face performance. So the T150 with the channel in the back, the Apex Pro is a hollow construction with a narrower face just to get a bit more speed. So it's a kind of probably slightly stronger ball striker's club head, but both designed to retain a little bit of flight. So not something just to bullet it out and send it miles. It's designed to keep, these two in particular, designed to keep a little bit more flight on than previous versions. So the 100S was lower flight than this, and as we're seeing going to the Apex Pro, the previous models have been more towards a slightly more distance-oriented iron, taking a bit more spin off, whereas these are both retaining a little bit more spin.
Great.
So someone who just wants to keep a little bit of flight but gain a bit of performance off the club head from a distance and forgiveness point of view.
Fantastic. Take it away. Let's see what's...
So we've gone a bit nearer your shaft in this, that's my disclaimer. Project X, too heavy for me. This.
But he is fresh off the back of 75 balls, pre YouTube live.
I've got to get my practice in for next week.
I know. James and Simon have got a little trip out to Beachcomber Resort in Mauritius, taking a few clients, and we're running a trip out to Costa Navarino.
Can't wait for that.
Team Challenge Trophy, 5 teams.
Well, I think I'll quit while I'm ahead. I scored about 4 foot.
Has he really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't notice it. But nice shot.
Well, I think one of the things with the 150, I guess very quickly to jump, it's not as clicky and harsh as previous as the 100S was. So in terms of someone looking for a bit of performance that the head doesn't feel too harsh, I guess, too hard, too hollow. It's a very, very stable head from that perspective. So you can see on that one spin of 5,500. So that's a reasonable amount of spin for a 6-iron, whereas a lot of the models, loft's gone down to 25, 26 degrees, and the spin will be 4.5, which then it comes in flat. So that's still got a reasonable bit of control. I will put one other number on here. One of our regular viewers, Mr. Ashley, has asked for descent angle. So I'm going to put, assuming you should have it, I'm going to put that one on there as well. So I'll hit one more here.
For those of you that have seen Simon and I hit him before, we have very different spin rates, launch angles, but we've got nuts and bolts. We have very similar club speeds.
And that's quite a good indication with this. That was nearly missed.
Right.
And that's where with this, where it's got tungsten in the sole, a bit of the cavity, it keeps the ball speed going. Right. So you can actually get, it's dropped good deal, but actually it deserved to be a lot shorter than that.
Let's have a little swing and hit with that. Do you want to go while I just hit a couple of those? Do you want to, Matty, do you want to get, what was the club that Tom wanted us to try? The PXG 0317?
The T, the latest one. Yeah.
And so this is reasonably new head.
Yeah, this was launched September time. So yeah, done very, very well. I think the fact that it sits, excuse me, a little more forgiving than the 100 and the 100S were last year.
Right.
I think that's been, some players like the fact there's a bit more head to look at, and some preferred the slightly cleaner shape. But I think it's a head that really, sounds like an odd comment to say, stays with the shot really well.
Yeah.
That you don't really feel much sort of twisting and moving through impact. It's a really stable head.
That felt really nice. That felt really nice.
Yeah.
That felt really nice. I think I might have found the answer to my back. I think it's my shoes I've been wearing.
Ah, yeah, everything.
It's my shoes I've been wearing.
Ground. That was how important it is, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
That
You're going to be walking around barefoot soon, aren't you?
I don't know. I don't want to expose that to anyone. That one might be in. Go in. Look at that. That's
Very good.
consistency for you. That's lovely.
So interesting to see where. So I hit more spin than you. That one's. So this is where for you, because of the loft it's at, 380. So that's our difference in spin. That's hit well rather than my knife on the second one.
Yeah.
We've got 1,000 revs difference in spin. So to the point earlier, I'm just going to pop the land angle onto here. We don't need total on there. If I can find it, land angle 42. Yeah. So for 6-iron, 42's actually quite flat. If I do one just to illustrate. So we'd be looking at wanting it to be more like 45. So in terms of getting the control and the stopping power.
Gosh, these questions are coming in firm and fast, so we need to crack on with some of these. Yeah, we want to always answer all of your questions. James Kavanagh, good evening, guys. I swing driver at 117, 120. So one caveat to these questions, James, if you do swing above 108 miles an hour, we're really not interested. But on this occasion, we will answer it.
5,360 spin and land angle, where is it gone? Oh, 50.9. So the difference in height that you and I get off the same head,
yes,
that's a usable head for me, but for you, wouldn't be one we'd use.
So James Kavanagh, as he said, 117, 120, yeah, whatever.
Strong.
Currently playing Tour AD XC6S in a G410 LST. That sounds like a barcode off of some sort of purchase item. Have tried the 6X, but dispersion is worse. Am I too fast to swing the 6S? Occasional miss is a big overdraw.
I think this is where it goes back to some of the things that we've said over the years, that the flex is unimportant. What you're finding is it's more likely to be weight. So I can't go above 65 grams and keep control at pace. So I play the XC6 in a stiff. I'm at about 110, 111 if I'm jumping all over it. But the flex isn't going to be what makes a ball go left or right. It's whether the club and you are in sync. So if you go from the S to an X, you're picking up a couple of grams, and that can be enough, especially with the speed you've got. It amplifies to throw your timing off. So I would say unless you want the feel of a stiffer, tighter shaft to give you confidence, the right to left shape will be swing line and delivery. It won't be the soft shaft doesn't flip the toe over. So you're not, I mean, the long drive guys are playing half of them now are playing a very soft shaft. Some have gone back to the stiffer ones, but really it's weight's the dispersion determinant, not flex.
Yep. Good answer. Garrett McKelvey, I'm in Southern California.
Yeah. Good morning.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're really nice to hear people from
we
all over the
We should
world.
go out and do one from there.
We'd love to.
Much better climate this time, yeah.
So if you could just send your jet over, Garrett, that would be great. Was looking at PXLS 6.5 as an option to drop some weight. Any graphite options to look at as well?
I mean, to get the kind of stability that you'll be used to feeling. I mean, the Axiom's in the 125, the Fujikura, and that's got the Ventus tech from the Velocore technology from the Ventus series, or Link 2. So that's going to feel really stable, and it's not going to swing too light as well. That keeps a bit of swing weight there. So that would certainly be one that's worth a go, for sure.
Good tip.
Not cheap though.
He's got a jet, doesn't mind. What shaft? Oh, Biggin Hill. It keeps it close to us. What shaft is in the T150, fellas? And is this the preferred shaft for Simon? He's got the very, very light one.
Yeah, so I play a Oban CT115, a soft step stiff, so about 113 grams. This one we put in the Project X55, just it's a bit closer to Stuart's spec, because we've used mine in the past. I thought it was only fair, really.
Wow.
So this is kind of trying to find a hybrid that works for both of us.
Making it fair. But yeah. Brian McCallum, Simon fitted into Ventus Velo Blue 7S in 3+ wood.
Yep.
Timed the swing very confidently with great results. Invested in TR Blue 6S for driver, but struggling to hit consistently. Is TR just very different?
It is, yeah, because they've got the extra weave in the butt end to stiffen that up, which in theory, raises kick point, decreases spin a little bit, but it also changes the balance point. So the Verticum standard blue, the original blue series, swings a little bit lower down the shaft. So chances are that the TR blue, there's just not enough sensation for the bottom half of the club. So you might be able to remedy it with a little bit extra weight on the head, but it might not be remedied by a bit extra weight on the head, but it is a different balance point.
Brilliant stuff. Andrew Gentle asks, can you discuss the impact of shaft length, loft, head design, shaft on launch and spin for fairway and hybrids?
I can, but I have to do a complete video on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so head style and centre of gravity, head design will impact launch and spin. Action and head design are launch and spin. So if you're someone who's covers it and hits down on it, you're going to launch it lower. If you trap it a lot, you're going to spin it. If you sweep it, you'll launch it higher, spin it less. But the head design can complement or hinder. So you can take spin off with head design like a TSR3, add a bit of launch with a G430 fairway wood. The shaft is about dispersion and timing. It's a timing implement and feel. So there are a lot of questions on there that we probably can't really go into the detail we'd want to today.
Certainly, it's certainly a video that we'll put together for you.
Put something together
if
for
you ever want us to do a in-depth discussion on any of the topics, we're always happy to take recommendations.
Just let us know. We can shoot a video.
100%.
When I get back.
100%. Mark Griffin, have you done any testing with ball balance? I saw an interesting video where they were testing cheaper balls versus Pro V, and the Pro V had 6 out of 12 were bad, but cheap Wilson only had 2 bad. Thoughts? So quality control.
It's a QC thing. I think it depends on how they're doing the test. I mean, one of the things that I know that all the top ball brands now are really focusing on is getting the core centered. So it depends how they're testing it. It's as to what kind of results. You can make stats say whatever they want to. Essentially, you can find a result in there if you really want to. But if it's just a case of some salty water and roll it, put a dot on it and see where it comes out, it's not. It's a good start point, but it doesn't really tell you. I mean, ultimately, price on golf balls, some of it is good. It's like anything branding wise. There's an element of that, but the likes of Titleist and Srixon and Bridgestone and they've invested millions and millions in their production sites. So they aren't. It's rare to find a bad ball now from any of the big brands. But equally speaking, there's some very good value balls out there as well.
And that's where any time you're reviewing something like for like, it's slightly different with balls, but we've talked about it, haven't we? About equipment. When you get these equipment reviews, how clubs are put together for an individual. I mean, they would need to be so on point to make it a fair test that it's very difficult for people to do that. A Peter Finch or Rick Shields that does a review on a bit of equipment, they just won't be built to the tolerances that we believe that they need to be built to make them fair tests. And I think that's the thing with all of these tests. It's
very subjective.
Yeah.
And that's why if we got the same shaft in 2 heads of the same loft and the same weight, it's a fair test. Because there are so few variables, and that's one of the only ways you can really do it and be. And again, it's only relevant to the person hitting it as well, because what works for me and I might find an enjoyable product to use will give you a horrible ball flight. So again, it's about having the relevance of what the differentiating factors are and saying, right, how might they impact the player? But and ultimately, until you get your own hands-on tested, it's just an opinion.
Absolutely. Gosh, thank you so much for all these questions coming in. It's really good. We will get through them all. Mauser has a cracker. Simon looking resplendent in the salmon strides tonight.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
That
try.
when you were answering that last question, I was trying to hold my smirking because I did like Mauser's comment. Matt M.
He could have been much more rude about the colour. The salmon's quite polite. I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, evening, chaps. Had a recent iron fitting from a known manufacturer. They checked my swing weight of my 7-iron and advised it is D7. What does this mean for the club and my swinging it?
So swing weight is a relatively unscientific scale in that it's on a static balance, a static scale. So
can we get that on the camera?
Literally, I don't know whether Matty, can you get the swing weight scale on the camera? Yeah, I'll slide this out the way.
We can explain it. We've got a moving camera here that Matty's just going to move it around.
It's like Buck Rogers.
It is. Here it is. It's going to change the screen.
So this is a swing weight scale. So it's a 15-inch fulcrum, and you literally put the grip end under here. Can't quite see it behind this, but I'll see if I can move that further out of the way. It rests on a second part of this side, and then the club head hangs off this end, and it flicks up and gives you a scale of numbers and letters it's a scale of feel for the club head, a balance point. But there are lots of variables that go into interpreting that swing weight, that reading. The length of it will change it. The components, the grip type will change it. The shaft weight will change it. So you have to essentially kind of normalize it. You have to look at the components and how they're put together to know what it means. So D7 on a standard length club is pretty heavy. A standard inverted commas would be D1 to D3, depending on the shaft. And so D1 to D1 is lighter than D2, D2 is lighter than D3, and it goes all the way through. C9 is lighter than D0, and so it really gives you a reference point for where the balance within the club is, but it's a static balance. It doesn't actually tell you what it feels like to swing. Now D7 is quite heavy. It's for every point D1 to D2 is 2 grams worth in the head. So you can put a £5 note on the end, and that would put it up half a point.
Yeah,
give or take.
And that's what I was just doing. So I just put a very small washer on the end there, and it put it up half a point.
Yeah.
And that's and that's quite interesting, is it? Because the sensitivity of that swing weight machine there, it just highlights what a grip change. Someone goes and says, oh, do you know what, I fancy going to some mid-sized grips. Wax them on, and they go, oh my God, the golf club feels horrendous. Well, yeah.
The grip's probably 10 grams heavier. Some mid-size are 10 grams heavier.
You just dumped a load of weight on one end. It's so sensitive, which is why we have a gazillion different shafts and weights, which is why it's more weight than.
And to go to the other bit in terms of what it means to swing them, is that if it's a standard length on D7, it's very head heavy, or it's an incredibly light grip, one of the two. Chances are it's longer than standard length, probably half an inch, maybe even maybe an inch longer than standard. So that actually mitigates some of that head weight. It's not as head heavy, but being longer, it's going to swing heavier. So anytime you lengthen the club, anytime you put weight in the bottom end, as you start down, it's likely to feel like you've got to really get the club head away, really bring the club back. It's going to want to drop behind you if it's a little on the heavy side, and then that makes you tend to come out of it on the way through, or heave the shoulder over to fetch it over. So it will, if it's outside of what suits your swing and your physiology and physicality, then it's going to make you have to really work really hard to fetch the club through.
Go out into your back garden, swing your driver around, and then go swing a broom around. You'll feel the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, down at the bottom, the broom snaps in your hands. It feels like difficult to get it going, and that's what we're talking about, right?
Exactly
you're swinging.
Great question.
So, Miss Ali Nerd, thank you. Was considering, this was in reply to your answer about the golf clubs. Thank you. Was considering a 9 wood, but we'll think about a 4 hybrid. Thinking about fitting, is it best to start with an iron fitting or woods and hybrids? My average driver speed is 83 miles an hour, so not a big hitter.
Yeah, but you know, good amount of speed. I would, if you want to look through the whole bag, it makes more sense to look at, if you're not particularly wanting to check out, for example, driver, the irons make the most sense to look at first, because you then work out how you bridge up from the irons and down from driver. So you'd always, if we're going through a full bag fit with someone, we go irons, driver, and then work our way back. And if we're doing an iron fit and or a wood fit, which one do you do first? I would do irons first, because that sets, you know, from where your longest irons are going to be, what kind of flight you're going to like to need above that. So it helps to do irons first and then bridge from driver back to your longest iron.
Good answer. Good answer. Mike T, is there anything you can do in a fitting to improve swing path? I'm currently +5 and feel I have to really swing left to get more neutral.
There's it could be something to do with the club setup. So it can be, again, if something's heavy and you have a tendency to swing more round yourself, then you know, lighter's going to be easier to pick it up and get a slightly steeper plane. But ultimately, something like that, a lot of that, it boils down to swing dynamics. So there can be things, I mean, we're very careful not to get into teaching lessons within the bay here. That's why we have Stuart and Lewis who operate out of here. That's not what I'm here for. However, if there's something that will help a ball flight or a vague steer in terms of what is going to help some consistency, we can give you that. But it's more likely to be a kind of technique issue than a club issue. As a direct.
Yeah, I mean, if something's light, it would tend to make you unload it a bit quicker, wouldn't it? Unload it a bit quicker might hook it, which would then impact you in swinging a bit more inside. Anyone that's a bit hook biased will tend to swing from the inside. So anything that's making the ball turn left that could be a bit light might offer that up. But if you feel it's an issue with your game, you probably want to look to get some advice on that first, really, rather than thinking a fitting is going to sort it for you. Alexander Ward, evening gents, evening Alexander. Thing I hear and experience a lot of people saying when their irons are working well, their woods driver don't, and vice versa. It's a common mistake there. How often, if ever, do you think this is a club fit issue?
Well, it's quite often in that, you know, because of how different the top and the bottom parts of the bag are. Someone's got irons that they get on with, and things don't seem to compute into the woods. Chances are there is a club setup issue. But then we all go through periods where, I mean, or rather, go back half a sentence, we rarely see someone who's not been fitted have matching clubs through the set. It's just very, very unlikely to happen buying off the rack, or even having custom clubs from a brand, because they just don't go into the depth on the swing weighting and things that we would be able to. But it's also just golf, that you get your irons right, your woods go off. You get your woods right, your irons go off. But yeah, generally speaking, I would say it's rare unless you've been fitted to have a set of clubs you feel like you get representative results through the bag.
But I think as well, from a technical standpoint, when you're swinging an iron, you're trying to create pressure down. When you're trying to hit a wood, you're trying to swing it up, trying to hit up on the golf ball. They can be the same swing, but they can be different in feels through contact. And I think the lion's share of golfers don't recognise that as two different feels. Same swing, but different feels through contact. So I think that's probably as much the issue. And if you've got a club that's probably well balanced, I think you've got the very best chance of being able to hit your irons in the woods well consistently. Look, we've got the questions are coming in, which we're absolutely loving, and we're going to answer them. But let's hit another cover. We'll hit one shot.
Thank you for all the questions. That's great.
Yeah, questions are great. So what have we got here, Simon?
This one's the Apex Pro. So what I would be expecting to see from this versus the T150 would be, historically, I'd expect the Apex Pro to be a similar kind of stronger flight. If anything, I might expect a little bit more flight out of this.
So you 5.3 spin and a 50 degree. I was 4.3
and 42.
Got it. Yeah. That might be my winter project, you know, get myself a little bit higher launch and a bit more spin, personally.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the differences with this actually to previous models has been it's a softer sound and feel.
Yeah, definitely.
The Apex Pro in the past has been a bit of a clickier, harder note and bulleted it out. I mean, that one's 5.8 on spin and 51 land angle. So, you know, straight away there's another few hundred revs of spin out of this, which you wouldn't have expected from previous Apex Pros.
Interesting. We'll answer a question while we're here.
I'll stick that more golf one on because that actually displays it rather nicely.
Mauser, been struggling. I'm just double checking I haven't missed anyone's question. Brian McAllister says, thanks Simon, I'll try that. Mauser asks, been struggling hitting mid to long irons thinning recently and found gripping down ½ inch or so is helping get a better strike. Is that a sign my clubs need attention or poor technique?
I would say if you're having to grip down it, that's a sign your clubs need attention. There's all, I mean, we can all, long irons are just hard for a start, and it could be club length. It could be, to go back to one of the questions earlier about swing weight at D7, it could be a heavy swing weight. It could be that the clubs are just a little heavy. So going down it means you've got less club to have to get back to the ball, and therefore it's just easier to move. So it makes them swing a little bit less heavy by going down the grip a little bit. It's why often players are better with a 3-wood than a driver because it's a shorter shaft. But ultimately the chances are there's something to have a look at there, I would say. Yep. From an equipment setup point of view.
Good answer. Hit one of those, Simon, while we're... Tage, my club maker accidentally tipped my Ventus TR Red 7X twice.
Right.
2 inches in total.
Right.
I have been absolutely striping it though. Does it effectively make it play more like a Ventus Black, so it's now very tip stiff?
No, actually this is one of the biggest misconceptions with the Ventus, is that's made it softer, because that's taken out the Velocore material. So the more you tip a Ventus, particularly the blue and the black, maybe the red less so, but you're actually taking out some of the stiffest material. So whereas in a lot of shafts, most of them, you take an inch and a half off, you're shortening the parallel section, so you're stiffening it up. With the Ventuses, so particularly the blue and the black, but to an extent the red as well, the stiffest material is in the tip. So actually, if you've taken 2 inches out, it might be pretty much playing the same as without tipping. I'd have to double check some of the data on it, but certainly with the blue, if you tip it, you're softening it. So he actually might have done you a favour in a fairway. I think it was said in the fairway would.
He said TR Red Ventus. No, didn't say which club it was.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, it may, in actual raw stiffness, may not have affected much, but you've probably lost some of the material that you paid for.
Connor Knight asks, how would a Project X 6.0 play versus a S400 Tour issue in a wedge?
So the Project's a little lighter. The big difference is the Project X is very, very stable through this sort of mid and upper mid section. So it's designed for more of a kind of a loading kind of swing. The dynamic golds aren't that stiff in the middle. But S400 is 132, 33 grams. The Project X6 is 122. So the main difference is the Project X will feel harder. You're not going to get as much feedback out of it, which is where in wedges, quite a lot of players, it's why they've done the wedge-specific version of it, is to make it feel a bit more responsive. But the dynamic gold, the extra weight might just help you time the shorter shots a little bit better, potentially. But then you'll time the Project X better if the weight's better. But it's more the weight difference and a little bit more feedback from the dynamic gold, slightly lighter but a firmer feel at the Project X.
Let's hit this Lego set.
So, I mean, essentially, that's kind of what it is. It's Meccano, pretty much, but for golf. So, one of the big features of this is it's an aluminium hosel. It's 50 grams lighter than a normal hosel. So, actually, that allows them to put all the weight in the head and not in the hosel. So, you're actually moving the centre of gravity central on the face rather than into the heel. But it's allowed them to put the hosel, if I put it that way, it's allowed them to put the hosel slightly further forward, but also slightly further in. So it's moving it towards being like a face balanced iron to reduce the twisting.
It's very much the look of the old Cleveland Vass irons.
Very much the same principle, except with the lighter hosel.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got
very
it.
much the same principle.
I bet there's not that many people watching that remember the Cleveland Vass. If you do, let me know.
And for a bonus point, who won a major using them?
That's too easy. That's too easy.
Well, not if you're not old enough to remember it.
Yeah. Let's see who's the first one in with that answer.
So because all the mass is in the face, it's a very solid feel. It's a little bit thin, but still got the. It's a very, very solid feel. It
desperate to hit this.
does change the balance a little bit because it kind of the weight sits a little further out from the tip of the shaft. And obviously visually it's quite a different look.
That's a good land angle for reasonably low spin.
For a
Right?
slight thin, yeah.
That was hit.
Yeah. So
Was hit.
it's a really solid contact. You get very little deflection because of that mass there. That's just this one is slightly heavy on swing weight, so for me, it's a little bit later, hence just the face a little bit open. As you can see, relative to the T150 and the Apex Pro, well, you might not be able to see, but the spin rate's at 5.2, so my land angle's still 55, still a decent land angle. But this particular head, they've got a more forgiving one launching with a deeper centre of gravity at some point. It is coming, but this white tends to produce a slightly flatter flight.
Tage, unfortunately, is
Perfect for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, not. Tage got it right.
In 3 wood, okay, yeah.
But Tage got the Corey paving.
Ah, well done.
Well done,
Yep.
Tage. Yeah, very good. Oh my God, that felt weird.
So for you, the swing weighting of this one's probably a little heavy, but I mean, this will be interesting to see your flight profile of this.
That was low and low.
I wouldn't expect this to be,
That was low and low.
3.7. Yeah.
She was low.
Wouldn't expect this to be Stuart's first choice. Of
Yeah, this was low and low. I'm going to go and try and get a bit more. There we go. That'll have a bit more flight and a bit more spin on it.
So here's one for you. Question
look at
coming
that.
from David
Get it.
Edwards. Any ideas for transferring weight back to the left with driver, as I have a tendency to get stuck on the right side?
Getting stuck onto your right side would be a way of you squaring the face up. So if you got rid of that, you would hit it more offline. Let me know what flight you hit as a bad shot, and then we can go from there. Yeah. That's that. I mean, it feels heavy, but it feels awfully dead off the face.
But I think so part of that kind of
Not bad, though.
feeling of, as you say, deadness is because it's a single piece head.
right,
So what you don't get is like the other two heads have got a hollow cavity, kind of a channel taken out behind the face that gives the acoustic of a little bit of pop and snap. So actually, in terms of ball speed, 125, it's still come off with a good amount of ball speed.
Yeah.
But we associate a certain sound with speed. So what I'll show this up.
Good
with the
carry
camera.
number 187.
So what they've done with this is, in the back here, it's made in Detroit, and so they've milled out specific areas to get the mass in the right place. So in this one, they've taken a bit of mass out the top and left a good chunk of weight in the middle to get that solidity of strike. But what will be coming is another kind of sole plate in order to give different turf interaction, get the weight down a little bit more. We could do with a model that flights it up a little bit more, but from a ball speed consistency and flight consistency, incredibly good. The one thing that they aren't is everyone's cup of tea from a visual point of view.
I'd like a bag of them.
I know that no one else is going to have them.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're an interesting set of irons. Gary Player, Mark Griffin said, and our very own Matty, the alt golfer that's sitting behind the camera, said, VJ Singh, wash your mouth out with so
Just wanted a shout out.
Yeah, exactly. So where are we here? We've got Stuart. Do you have? Oh, did we answer that one? Brian McAllister. Stuart also looking resplendent in his John Travolta shirt. What are you trying to mean by that? as in, like,
it's a wonderful.
Bit
It
disco.
looks sort of a patio pattern.
It's a bit disco. It's a bit disco. You know, I like to keep sharp. Listen, I got.
You wouldn't want to be an epileptic.
I got to put up with these trousers every week. So I got
block colours though. Block colours.
Yeah. Richard Ticehurst. Hi guys. Good evening, Richard. You fitted me for a driver this year and built it for me. It's been great, but I've just decided to put on an oversized grip.
Aha. An oversized one. More than a mid-size.
Does it need to have the swing weight adjusted?
Highly likely. Is
there any reason why we've come closer to the camera?
So we're in better shot.
Okay.
Yeah. Just want to get closer to your chiseled features.
I'm trying to hide the grey. I think it's less grey from back there.
Just developing badger. But yeah, so back to the question. Depending on, I'd have to double check what the original grip was. But yeah, I mean, when you go most standard grips are 50 to 55 grams. Most mid sizes there are some sub 60 grams. Most are 60 to 65. If you're going to the oversize or the jumbo sizing, then they tend to be more like 70 odd grams. So potentially made a very big difference to the swing weight. So there are some grips you can get at the right size, at the right weight, but they're at an oversize, i.e. more than the mid-size, there aren't very many. Mid-size, they're about 4 or 5. So it's certainly redeemable with just a grip type change. Yeah, I'll have a little look and check once we finish which grip you've got, and then if you can let me know which grip you put on, brand and size, then I can email you later on with how much you've changed the swing weight by. And
can you answer why did you suddenly decide that an oversized grip was the way to go? That's just from a coaching perspective. Anyway, Alexander.
Good old schoolmaster then, didn't he?
Alexander Ward, thanks for the answer. Looking forward to my fitting with Simon later this week.
Yes, I'm going to say Alex is in this
Fantastic.
week. Yeah.
David Edwards.
Yes, you're Thursday morning, just before I think it's Thursday morning.
Just before you fly off. Oh, you're going to be in a great mood then, aren't you?
I'll be in party mood.
You're always in a great mood. Stand by for the outfit that he'll be in. David Edwards. David Edwards. Hi guys, any ideas for transferring weight back to the left?
You done that one?
No, no.
Oh, you said something about, is there a shot-shaped part coming in, or have you?
Oh no, is that coming twice? Anyway, okay, we'll move on from that. Sorry, thanks. I really enjoyed watching the fitting video.
So there is the second half bit.
Oh, thanks, Stuart.
One with the driver is a pull fade.
Yeah, that's right. So you're sitting back, and you're trying to square the face up. So look to square your face in your golf swing. That will then give you an insight as to why you're trying to sit back and hold the face, get the face back to straight. So fix the face and you'll be able to get yourself more onto your left side. Because getting yourself more onto your left side is arguably going to make the handle arrive earlier with the club head. So therefore that will then leave the face more open. Sitting back allows you to get the club head swinging through strike, which squares it up. So that's why you would be sitting back to square the face up, hence why the pull fade. Thanks, I really enjoy the fitting videos. So Miss Ali Nerd, thanks. I really enjoy the fitting videos, especially the women golfers, as I can relate to their speeds. I use off-the-shelf men's regular clubs, so I'm starting to think a fitting may help me.
Yeah, and it's for ladies in particular, there are more options now, but ultimately over the years it's basically been a case of some pastel shade of colour on the club head and a very, very light, very soft shaft. And then there's a massive gulf between that and a men's senior setup, which is just your next option. So yeah, if you're from the driver speed you mentioned, I mean for every golfer there's something that's doable, but quite often you might find yourself in that kind of no man's land where ladies' clubs are too light, potentially men's clubs are either too long or too heavy, but there's plenty that can be done for sure.
You jumped ahead, didn't you? You jumped ahead to the question.
Which one?
You earlier, the golf, the equipment, the hanging back on the right side question, didn't you? The technique one.
I thought it was only about one.
You jumped it. No, I think you jumped in about 4 or 5. Yeah, that's why you should never be. That's why you should never get involved in this here. This is my domain.
Don't touch tech. I can't even touch the iPad.
Tej said it was his 3-word about the Ventus core.
Yeah.
It was his
so actually,
this is wonderful.
Not
insight.
having the tip overly stiff isn't the worst thing in the world in the 3-wood. Okay. Most of them work. The smaller head works, having a bit of recovery at the tip of the shaft. So.
Yeah. Tej, Simon, when putting a graphite shaft into a 4 or 3 iron, what's the difference between a hybrid shaft and a graphite iron shaft?
So the hybrid shafts are structurally different because the head style is different. So most of the time, so an iron shaft will have a little bit more play in the tip quite often. Either they come in two types, they come parallel or what we call discrete length, which is taper tip. And the taper tip ones will be designed for a 3-iron or a 4-iron because they're 3-iron, 4-iron, 5-iron shafts rather than just a blank and then you trim to suit the flex. So the shorter the iron, you shorten the tip, but then you end up getting lighter into the short irons. So the discrete lengths are always the better ones. I digress. But hybrid shafts are generally a little bit firmer in the tip because the head's designed to pop them up a little bit more, generally. But ultimately, they both work well in a driving iron. It's in some of the stronger graphite iron shafts, you can find them taking a little bit of flight and spin off. I sort of gone around the houses and not given an answer there, have I? Really, they can both work. It just depends what swings best. Hybrid shafts tend to be dearer. There we go.
Yeah, good answer. Got there in the end. No.
Ramble.
Yeah. Norwegian Warhound.
Ah.
He's a nice man.
Good morning.
He comments on my channel. Again, shameless plug, but Intelligent Golf Performance.
Stuart,
really. Yeah, should do. Really. What would be an iron shaft to look at for someone that is trying to pull on the handle? I know we're all different, but to find my old clubs don't help with what I'm trying to do. Best wishes.
So you want, if you have and it says pull on the handle, it means a bit of a pull down or kind of pull forward on the handle. So you generally want, because if you play, I'll move forward so it's more visible. If you don't play bottom end heavy, what happens is, as you pull down, you stand the shaft up. So you actually want a bit of weight in the bottom end, so that when you pull on the handle, the weight in the bottom end is dropping into plane as well. Otherwise, it ends up, you kind of threw the shot before the club head. You can get the club head through the ball before you mean to, so it can end up being a little bit of a flick, and then you've got to steer it back into it. You want the weight of the club to pull down into the back of the ball without you having to put it there. So generally, depending on what dead weight you're going to be playing, you generally, if you have a strong pull on the handle, you're tending into the heavier weights, but certainly something with a bit in the bottom end. So whether it's any of the Modus shaft, well, Modus 105, 120, the Dynamic Gold 120s, 105s, they're pretty tip heavy. Ironically, the full standard Dynamic Gold is heavier, but not tip heavy. Project X LS is quite a good one for that as well. So there are a good few that give you some feel of the tip end.
Brilliant. Mark Griffin, Stuart, do you have any tips drills for quietening down the hands through impact at speed? I can control it with partial wedges, but struggle at high speed, or is it purely bad fit for golf clubs? You answered the clubs first.
Yeah, I mean, one bit that can make you fast with the hands is if the club's out of sync, then you've got to fetch the handle through, and that can make you flippy. Or if, like me, you just aren't very good with the wedges. But no, certainly fitting wise, if the balance of the club is out, it's not going to sync up. If it syncs up, that allows you to be quiet with the hands from the club side of things, certainly.
The best wedge players are the ones that deliver the same dynamic loft. Gives them the opportunity to control the ball speed and the distance. If you're battling with quietening your hands down through strike, it's because the hands are firing up to square the blade.
Yeah.
If the blade is trying to square itself up, again, look for what is creating you to be handsy. If you then quieten your hands and you hit it offline, well, you're in a bit of a pickle, because if you quieten your hands down, you might get a better strike, but you might hit it more offline. So I would investigate your ability to deliver the same dynamic loft first, then have a little look at your angle of attack second, and then look at your dispersion third, and go through that. And then once you get those three things in line, I think you'll be in a place where you've found your form. Tips to quieten down your hands, it's just the unison of you and the golf club working together to deliver the right face alignment to your path to hit the shape. So taking things out, you need to put something in. It's a two-way street. You can't just put something in. Something's got to come out to replace it. So that would be my advice to you, rather than thinking about, I just need to quieten down my hands through strike.
I'm going to switch that other head on for Tom Ashmore.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 4 minutes left. We do like to keep this to a strict 1 hour. For those of you that are new to the channel, 55% of you are not subscribed. Do give us a like and a share while you're here, because your support to the channel is really, really appreciated. So give us a favour, do go and hit the subscribe button while you're watching. Thanks so much. Richard Ticehurst, hi guys, my typo, I had a Lambkin ST on from you and have gone to a Cox mid-size.
Okay, so I can check out what
CPX.
weight, oh, the CPX.
CPX
Ah, right, yeah. So yeah, the
CPX.
CPX is heavier. CPX is 64 gram, and the ST in the stand is about a 54, 55. So yeah, you would have lost the equivalent of maybe 2 swing rate points in the head. Yeah, there are definitely other grips in the mid-size. So if you went to one of the other Lambkin, the Sonar series, that would keep grip weight in check, and you could have the bigger size. Tall Velvet 360, those are good as well. Iomic works, or the Z grip, Z cord in a mid-size. So
Give that a whack.
so this one's the 317T. So this is the one where it's sort of they've got the MB, CB, and now this one's got that pocket cavity inside with their elastomer.
Have a little show up to
and
the
so we've still got the weight in the back there. It's actually a little bit wider there because where they've got the infill. So PXG have for a number of all their models now have had an elastomer fill to dampen vibration. So actually, if you have arthritis, the fact that it dampens vibration at source, it's most efficient at it to do it there. But it also supports the face, gives a little bit more speed. So bear in mind where the Apex and the Titleist were earlier on. We'll get a good comparison on flight. It's a nice, neat club head. I think this is the one they've been missing this year, actually. So, in quite a solid feel.
Yeah, that sounds like that's come off like a cannon.
Yeah, quite strong.
That's the longest one you've hit on this hole.
That'll probably have the least spin as a result. 4.3.
Let me have
4,300 on spin. So just for a laugh, Stuart might get a driver spin out. So that's why land angle's down at 44 degrees. So for me, if I were to play these, I'd have to add loft to them. You'd certainly have to add loft to them. And this is where
I don't
head
know what you're
styles
talking about.
between the Callaway Apex Pro, the T150, and this, all very similar head profiles and similar players in theory they're aimed at. Good recoil.
Cut!
Oh.
That's come out like that's got 2,500 spin on it.
Oh.
Come on. 3.7.
3.7.
It's not a lot, is it?
So that's kind of where you want the 4 iron to be.
There we go.
So the one thing actually, to be fair to PXG with their irons, they've always had a really nice soft sound off them because of the material that the infill is. It doesn't have that clickiness because it dampens the sound down. So they retain a really nice soft feel. 4.3.
4.3.
So yeah, so both of us got the strongest spin out of that one.
Okay, listen, the questions keep on coming in. We're going to are you happy to overrun for a few minutes?
We'll go a few minutes.
Yeah,
I think we're rude not to with how generous everyone's being with their questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brian McAllister, Simon, hopefully you are playing the O'Curf?
Elo Surf.
Oh, Elo Surf. Okay, sorry.
We're not. We're doing. We're Parody, and we're going to play Heritage and Avalon as well. So.
Tom Ashmore at American.
Someday, it'd be nice to play Elo Surf sometime though. But I need lots of golf balls apparently if they go there.
Yeah. Norwegian Warhound. Tom Ashmore says to Norwegian Warhound, as a left-handed person but played right-handed, I have quite a strong pull on the handle in my swing, and his Modus 120 seemed to work quite well for him. Nice, thanks Tom. Mark Griffin, okay, thanks. Tage, thanks for the thorough answer. Last one, how do you determine if you have a quick tempo, pull the handle, etc.? I have a hard time self-diagnosing.
Ultimately, you're going to have a bit of a tough time. It really is a case of going to seeing someone who. So even when I'm doing my own stuff, I like to get one of the other guys to watch, just so I'm not taking myself down a route that my emotions want to go down. But equally speaking, something like that, you do require another pair of eyes to give it a. I mean, granted, if you've got a tempo like Nick Price or a Lapperball, it's kind of fast and sharp, then. But whether you're somebody who pulls on the handle or not, you're not going to know that unless you go to see someone who knows what they're talking about. because you don't want someone to give you an opinion that leads you down the wrong path.
Yep.
It can be very easy to get it wrong.
Yep.
So.
Bhupinder Bogle, good evening,
Yeah.
Bhupinder. Great content as always, chaps. Wanted to know the benefits, selection principles for choosing a hybrid versus fairway wood in view of the fact that they can be the same loft.
Yeah, and flight. So also with the hybrids, a shorter shaft, so can be easier to strike. So if you struggle to find contact, then a hybrid versus a fairway wood will be easier because it's shorter. But if you're looking at maximum height, fairway wood, because it's the way the head's constructed, it gets a little bit more launch relative to loft, and then you go hybrid, and then you go iron from a pitch or flight. So that's generally, depending on what you're using it for, the course you play at. If you're looking to maximise carry and stopping power, it's going to be the fairway wood, middle ground the hybrid, and a low bullet an iron.
Good stuff. Chris says, have you done a review initial impressions video on the Apex 24 range, MB, CB Pro, question mark?
We haven't covered them all yet, but no, certainly something that's in the pipeline.
Great stuff. Well, it's been a great show. We've had
whistled by.
I know, always does. Been fantastic interaction.
Yeah, thank you for all the questions. Yeah,
You're not here next week. You're going to be on the golf course.
getting burned. Probably.
Yeah, getting burnt and playing some nice golf. I'm not here. I'm away with the hound. But we are going to be bringing you some content anyway. Catch me on Sky Sports next week, Thursday and Friday. I'm covering the LPGA and PGA Tour.
Oh, sorry, we won't be here. We'll be on way too late for us.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm sure you'll record it for us, won't you?
Yeah, I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. But as ever, a great evening. We really appreciate your participation, and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. From Simon and I, thanks so much for watching.
Good night.